Oh good, the Daniel Craig James Bond movies are back. Time once again to hear how everything that used to be wrong with uninspired studio action movies 15 years ago is now actually right, because at least it wasn't produced by a specific studio or based on a certain medium that's arbitrarily been declared the death knell of Western popular culture. But hey, to be fair, they somehow managed to get Craig to sign back on for one more of these after he very openly said he'd rather do anything else but play James Bond again, and they hired that brilliant madman who did the one good season of True Detective to direct this, and apparently they really mean it that this is the last go-round before recasting and probably rebooting again, so at least they're gonna go all out and end on a banger, right? No? Well, at least they're gonna do something other than the same template of sending James Bond on a MacGuffin hunt through a narrative that also serves as lightweight baby's first meta, self-referential, but not precisely self-critical acknowledgement of the James Bond franchise's own 21st century redundancy framed around a late-coming attempt at origin story retcon involving whichever character actor of unique accent and or cadence was trending highest whenever they cast this as a villain who might have been interesting if they did anything other than run their mouth about how they and Bond are mirror images of one another exactly the same, and hey, doesn't that make you think blah blah blah? No, seriously, go back and watch or don't. That's literally been every one of these. I mean, maybe Quantum of Solace had a different kind of bad guy, I guess. I honestly don't remember, because I can't remember anything from Quantum of Solace because I'm a person. I mean, not all of the old Bond movies were good. I guess I kind of buried the lead, but this one isn't necessarily bad either, but at least they knew to throw in some ninjas, or a boat that eats other boats, or a submarine car, or a volcano base, or naming this chick Dr. Goodhead, so that you always have at least a little bit of fun. I haven't been having intentional fun with these ones other than fits and starts since Casino Royale in 2006, and a lot of that grew out of a sense that we really were at the start of something sort of new maybe, which turned out to not be the case. Now it feels like the most notable thing about this whole run-through is how little actually got done with it, other than providing a dour, dreary template against which the rest of Daniel Craig's much more energetic, interesting performances in literally every other movie can be measured against. Well, I mean that and the amusing irony that what was initially touted as the long overdue reboot of the stodgy old 007 franchise, rebuilt from the ground up into a lean, mean, take-me-seriously-now machine determined to throw off the shackles to 1960s nostalgia kitsch that had supposedly held the property back for so long, itself now feels unmistakably like a creepy, lumbering, nostalgic throwback to the good old days of the pre-2010s, the last lingering relic of that split second in history where the industry knew that evergreen brand IP was going to be the new permacurrency, but still thought they'd all be chasing Christopher Nolan's Batman model instead of you-know-what. And now here's James Bond, the last action guy, still wearing last year's shoes to the ball, glumly stomping around generic locations that a Netflix production would say could use some extra set dressing, doing the spy movie version of would you prefer yellow spandex jokes in 2021, while everything from what's basically the Hot Wheels live-action movies to family-friendly streaming shows to parody cartoons all play his own hits better than he does. The world is not enough indeed. But okay, since as mentioned, Daniel Craig is now attempted to retire, then agreed to come back to these at least twice now, depending on who you ask, our story this time drops a not-so-fast onto the quasi-happy-ish final-esque resolutions of Spectre, which itself dropped a not-so-fast onto the quasi-final-ish resolutions of Skyfall before taking a don't think too hard about what any of these British intelligence agents have been doing or not doing about, stuff recently, 5-year jump to the present, wherein Bond is also taking an easy off-the-grid retirement, only to get pulled back in off the books at first when MI6 and the CIA both need help finding a stolen bioweapon that could be harnessed to wipe out the entire world but could also be used in more targeted fashion. And no, it doesn't actually matter what it is or does, because even though the concept behind it could be the theoretical basis of an interesting thriller, here it's just a plot device, so try and look surprised when the villain has the exact same evil plan as every other movie villain of the last 5 to 7 years.
The system is broken, Morty. This is the only way I can save Earth.
Okay, seriously, Los Angeles area screenwriters, stop it. Everyone is tired of this. I understand that a bunch of you kids, all either being themselves or bringing home partners who were annoying degrowth environmentalists or whatever, was apparently a widely relatable enough experience in your circles that you all think make the villain a Malthusian psychopath is this super clever inside joke shtick, but it's not anymore. It's over. It's boring. It's easy. You're not going to do a better version than Thanos. think of something else. Remember when bad guys just really didn't like the good guys, or they wanted to steal a bunch of money, or like a specific diamond or something? In any case, the face of interchangeable villainy this time is Rami Malek. His thing is that he has this weird mask that he doesn't really do much with, and it's been long enough in between any major movies coming out that all of his affects from Mr. Robot will probably feel new to you again. Anything else I could say about his side of the plot involves stuff that likely constitutes the big spoilers. People will be mad if I reveal, so I won't discuss them. Suffice to say, okay, yeah, these would feel like big plot turns and character beats if any of these movies had at any point managed to turn anyone into a real character or create anything resembling real human relationships, a tangible sense of place. That's not to say that the actors are bad or that the craftsmen aren't giving it their all to carve something respectable out of this material, or that James Bond movies, of all things, should try to engage in world building. It's just that no amount of polish can make concrete into marble. Craig remains excellent at exactly what he was brought in to do, which is to say, finally make the physical concept of James Bond as a brutal killer, somehow refined into someone's idea of a gentleman for purpose of subterfuge, seem like a genuine thing from scene to scene, even as the entirety of the Unretired Again storyline feels achingly calculated to work around the chance that his lack of interest might show up on camera. It's still fun to see him flip from fight scene to casual mode on a dime and deliver minimalist one-liners, and he's good enough in this last batch of scenes where, for again the third film in a row, some new piece of his Bone backstory falls into place and breaks Bond's steely resolve that you almost wish any of it would matter to the storyline, which it doesn't ultimately, because the film might have had to take an actual chance instead of just looking like it's doing something genuinely new apart from the played-out, gritty minimalist aesthetic that went out 10 years ago. Lashana Lynch makes a bold impression right off the bat as MI6's new 007, the inheritor to the designation following Bond's retirement. She clearly has the presence of a marquee lead and the chops of an action star, and the obvious button-pushing innate to just the concept of a black woman as the new 007, even if it's just to do meta banter about it with Craig, is clearly intentional, but the button actually doesn't do anything when pushed. She doesn't really get a lot in the way of the action focus herself, and the big beat that she does get for Act 3 kinda comes in out of nowhere and feels awkward and forced and just odd. One of those, wait, when did that become a thing for this other character? Ana de Armas similarly turns up for a pointless sequence, doing absolutely delightful business as a character who establishes herself as a clever foil with Bond, a witty presence, and a slick hand in an extended action sequence, and then completely vanishes from the movie, which is a shame because you end up missing her the entire rest of the film. There are, yes, multiple very agreeable action beats that are their own improvement over the prior two films, an extended chase in Italy, a stretch of urban warfare in Cuba, a bravura cat-and-mouse hunter-prey sequence in a fog-shrouded forest that I'm sure people will be ripping off for a few years to come, and yes, since everyone remembers that incredible bit from True Detective, a long-take shootout in a stairwell with multiple applause-worthy payoffs. Let it not be said that Cary Fukunaga cannot direct action, nor that Phoebe Waller-Bridge can't help a film mostly stocked with reconstituted action figures sound like human beings. There's just only so much anyone can do with a series that, even now 5 films into what was meant to be a refresh, still feels like a toy that never got played with because the producers were too afraid to get it dirty. So unfortunately, while I'm almost inclined to be charitable to the above-average parts and ignore the below-average parts, it kinda just feels mostly fair to say that this is once again an average entry to what turned out to be a thoroughly average series of films with a slightly above-average lead. So, 5 out of 10, who's up next?